3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to the Remote Photography Podcast. In this episode, I speak with photographer Martin Higgs about his remote experiences. Enjoy the podcast. Hi Martin, thanks for doing the podcast. If people don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Martin Higgs, a UK-based photographer. It's a second job for me. It was a job till recently. I've decided to quit it as a kind of career as such, or second role, just to start doing it for fun again, because I've never needed to make money in it, and as a result, I haven't really. So I've been shooting for about 18 years. I've really enjoyed doing beauty photography and hair photography for various hair salons for competition and that kind of thing. But these days, I really enjoy going on group holidays with friends and shooting natural light type stuff. So although I love everything that I've been involved with,
yeah,
I think more now it's something that I enjoy, natural light and just shooting in person, preferably on location and preferably abroad.
So when the pandemic happened, was that sort of a catalyst for you making it like a second, like a hobby now? Was that you would always...
Yeah, a lot of the jobs that I was getting, which tended to be things like hair salon jobs for competition, obviously the competitions had stopped because nobody could get together and all that kind of thing. So a lot of the work really just dried up. Most of the time I was shooting for salons, you're actually going to the salon to shoot. I wasn't shooting in my own studio. I've never had my own studio. I've always kind of been adapting to wherever I need to shoot rather than have somewhere specific to go. Yeah, that's really changed everything for me really under lockdown.
So how did you find out about it? Was it some models that approached you that wanted to do remote photography, or you'd seen it online, like on Facebook?
Well, it's a funny one, because about 6 years ago, I knew that I could do something similar, because I'm working in IT all my life. So when we remote connect to somebody's computer and help them with their IT problem, I mean, that's straightforward, doing a remote desktop connection of some sort. And obviously I've done tethered shoots and stuff with my own kit before, so I knew that you could have a piece of software and, you would be able to control that remotely. So yeah, about 6 years ago, I actually gave it a test. But at that point, there was not really any point to do it particularly, and there certainly weren't models really that had the equipment and stuff their size to really try things out particularly. So I put it on the back burner, but it's amazing how that's now become a major thing.
So who have you worked with? Because I'm looking literally at your website and you've got like a remote shoots page and it looks like a who's who of models basically.
Well, there's a few people there I've worked with in the past in person, which has been great. And there's a few new faces that I hadn't worked with before. And some of those people have actually become, really good friends, which has been fantastic during lockdown. So, I'll give you some names. I've worked with Sam, obviously, when we first started. So that was great. She's done a great job of starting up the tethered group and all that kind of stuff. And she does some amazing shoots. Zoe Morgan, she's been fantastic as well. Lucy in New Zealand. Cheryl, of course, over here. Now she's doing some amazing sets and just goes to so much effort. We've got a few models now that are really going to town on that. All sorts of people that are really putting the effort in with regard to styling and set design and various other things, almost for every shoot they're doing. And it's really hard work for them, but it just gives us fantastic results. So that's really been worthwhile. I don't want to try and mention other names, really. Iris Fitzgerald was amazing, does several shoots with her. Nicole Rayner's just begun again, and she's got some really good things going on. She's creating some nice sets and stuff to work with. Kate Laura was one of the first people I shot.
I've seen those shots.
Yeah, really nice portraits out of that. Stephanie Dubois, so she's now available in Cyprus, which was fantastic. Worked for the first time with LJ the other day. She was really good and went to a lot of effort with regards to clothes styling and stuff. And she's getting more kit now. So we were playing with things like a boom arm and all that kind of stuff, which just makes life a lot easier. Yeah, it's one of those things. You get what you get out of it, what you put into it. And some of these people we're working with are really going above and beyond to make that happen. Yeah, and of course Artemis, she's been doing great stuff. She's been painting her own backdrops and getting sets ready, and she's always gone into great detail for a shoot. She takes it really seriously. So the results coming from her are just fantastic as well.
Yeah, Artemis goes feet in at the deep end, doesn't she?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as you said, you worked in IT and you knew you can control computers remotely. You've helped a lot of models set up their remotes. Did you find it easy to get across how easy it was to do? Or sometimes there was a bit of as some models have said to me during other podcasts, that it seemed like too much to do?
Yeah, I think you're right. Some people take to it really easily, not a problem at all. Others, it's a little bit more of a stressful thing to try and get things set up. But once it's set up and you understand how it works, it's not too difficult, really. I think the only thing is, of course, there's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? You can use TeamViewer, you can use all sorts of things, Zoom and whatever, to connect to each other. And there's different software for cameras as well, some that work better than others. And obviously, sometimes they're kit themselves. So let's say, for example, I've worked with a couple of models that had cameras like an old Fuji or an old Sony or whatever, and they just wouldn't work properly with the software. So some of those have actually had to upgrade in order to get things working properly. So yeah, it's a mixed sort of situation with regard to how easy or hard it's been.
And when we were in the midst of, say, like the first lockdown, was it you approaching models, or models were coming to you to say, look, I'm thinking of doing remotes, can you help me set it up?
Well, it was actually a mixture, because if I wanted to shoot, then obviously I've approached the models, and there was a few that I knew already that were keen to get into it, but just wanted to give it a test. So I was more than happy to test with them and see if we could get it working. And then sometimes out of those tests, we were getting amazing images out of it. So it was a really good starting point. It meant they could use those sample images to kind of showcase their new option of remote shooting. So yeah, I've been really glad to help other people, and it's been great fun.
So obviously you've shot with a lot of models. Is there some that you haven't shot with that you'd like to?
Yeah, there certainly is. I mean, I haven't shot with Natasha J. Belly yet, and I mean, her setup's probably one of the best out there. We're having her own studio, and her work's fantastic as well. So quite keen to work with her at some point. Ivory Flame, I've not shot with her yet. I've worked with her in person in the past, but not remotely. Her work is just looking like paintings. It's just amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to work with her. Zoe in the Netherlands is arranging more shoots with travelling models. So there's all sorts of opportunities there to work with people I've not worked with before. Yeah, I'm sure, who else is there? Michaela in the States.
Michaela Models, yeah.
I've not had a chance to shoot with her yet. I'd like to shoot with her. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more people that I'd like to work with, but yeah, I've certainly enjoyed everybody I've worked with so far.
The ones that you've not worked with in person, just remotely, do you think once it's safe to shoot and everyone can travel and stuff, because you've done the remotes, it'll be easier to work with them in person?
Yeah, for sure. I think you do build up a rapport, and it's much easier to shoot with some a second or third or whatever time if you've already had an experience with them, I think. So yeah, it'll definitely help. I don't think the remotes will stop when all this is over at all. I think it's just another option that models can give to photographers, because there's plenty of photographers out there that maybe can't travel or have a disability or whatever it may be, or just feel they'd rather not travel and just do a shoot straight off the bat. I mean, my shoot with Lucy in New Zealand was for none of those other reasons other than it was just an opportunity for me to maybe shoot somewhere I'll never go, and really enjoyed the results of that, particularly because he's one of these people that goes out on location too. So again, going that extra mile, not only going out on location, but going out with her other half as a assistant at the crack of dawn for like a sunrise shoot. So they're kind of on set at 5 a.m, and of course it's at the moment it's winter there. Yeah. So they're really going all out, and the results from it are just stunning. You know, I wouldn't have missed that for anything.
Oh yeah, because definitely Lucy, as an example, is she's got like mountains and ranges and stuff, and like the stuff she's doing remotely over there is amazing.
Yeah, same goes for Zoe. I mean, she's been doing stuff on location as well, either on the beach or in the local park or whatever. And again, the results from that are really good. We're actually planning one at some point in the summer when it's just a bit warmer. We've got a good idea for something that's on location. Really looking forward to doing that, because it is looking like this year we probably still won't be able to get together. But
going the other way, there's some models that, due to where they are, they've only got maybe 1 or 2 locations. Have you found that something that has been a barrier, or it's just made you be more creative with setting up shots?
I think you need to be more creative. You definitely need to put your heads together and try and do something that's just not just so run-of-the-mill, if you can. I mean, I'm not saying that a nice grey backdrop and a really good headshot is not a good shot. It is. But if you can do just something, just to sort of change it up a bit, then that's great. But then I have been spoilt by the likes of Cheryl Elizabeth. With what she does. I mean, it's just another love again, isn't it? So yeah, I think it's nice, really. There's a bit of competition out there, even among the models, I think, now, to almost outdo each other to some extent.
Yeah, even the ones that are like, say, Kate Lawver, she's gone full on board with like backdrops and stuff like that. But even they're seeing what they can do and then gradually building up their kit.
Yeah, I mean, Sam has been to some amazing locations. You probably saw those huge white spheres in that pool that she shot in. Yeah. Various Airbnbs and that kind of stuff. So I mean, that's again an option that's maybe a bit more expensive to book, because obviously you need the space to shoot in. But just having the option again is amazing. And as you say, some of them are spending the money on the kit. I mean, LJ the other day had new flash setup, and you can actually control that from the laptop as well, which is really good. So I didn't have to interrupt the model's posing to change flash power and all that kind of stuff. I could do it from my desk, which was really cool. I think Sam's got a tripod head that you can control the pan and tilt and stuff on, which is kind of limited benefit to some degree, but the fact you could do it if you wanted to, it helps. But I don't know about you, but when I'm shooting, the main thing is usually the height of the shots and the kind of position of the camera as opposed to kind of panning round and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but then like I think like yourself, because I'm looking at that page of your remote stuff, and it's different styles. It's like looking down, it's looking up, it's through Christmas lights, it's out in the wild basically. So I don't think you're letting anything get in the way of how you want to get an image if you can.
No, absolutely. I mean, you do need more patience because things like changing angles, I try and avoid changing angles too often because it means you've got to stop the models posing. It stops the flow. And, sometimes finding the right angle is a bit tricky. So if the angle is fairly okay, I usually don't try and move it around too much. But having said that, as a photographer, if you feel you really want the angle change and it's going to make a massive difference to what you're shooting, then you've got to really ask for it. So don't be afraid to ask for something you really want. I think the other things that are patience required is focusing systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some, because I've used now probably 15 cameras that I don't own. And by shooting remote, I was looking in Lightroom metadata the other day, this is about 26 to 30 shoots, I think. And some cameras have got like face or eye tracking and stuff, and that's fantastic because you don't have to worry too much about your focus points. But then others that are a bit older, maybe you have to try and move the point almost every time you focus, which is a bit more tricky, isn't it? Especially if it's a bit laggy. Yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Once you get used to that, or you just allow a bit more time for it, it's still really enjoyable.
Well, speaking of gear, when a model either approaches you or you're looking when she's doing remotes, does the setup you have become a factor, or is it just like, oh, I want to work with this model, even if she's got an older camera, I'm still going to work with her?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've tried several things. I've tried the Facetimes and the Clos app and various other stuff. So like real back to basics. And I've managed to get one shoot that I was really pleased with that way. You had to be a bit creative, and obviously the quality wasn't really as good as a DSLR or mirrorless camera or whatever. But we got some nice results out of it. But it isn't my favourite to work with because I do like to change the settings, the aperture settings and all that kind of stuff to get the look that I like. So I try and avoid that now and really stick with more the kind of proper cameras. But I was always like one of these people that really wanted the best lenses and the best camera and sensors and all the rest of it. And of course, that's been sitting on the cupboard for the last year. And now I find it more of a challenge to adapt to whatever I've got available to me. So whether that be the camera, the lighting, or whatever it may be, I'm more than happy to try anything now.
Do you find when we do get back to in-person shooting, that's going to change the way you do photography?
I don't think so. I think it helps because you've had to learn to adapt to using different cameras and getting different results from the kit that you've had available to you. But and I think I really appreciate, being able to change my own angles and stuff when I'm actually shooting in person and not having so much lag on focus and all that kind of stuff, and also having eye tracking with my Sony and all that kind of stuff. So I think you'll appreciate what you've got more maybe. But I've really enjoyed the challenge of working with whatever I've been given. I think somebody said at some point, the best camera is the one you've got with you. And,
exactly.
One of those cases, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think for me, when I first started, it was because, like yourself, I shoot on Sony, and it was oh God, I'm using a Canon, and I hadn't used one in years. But then I got it into my head. I think it was with Lucy, because Lucy was one of the first people I shot. I just have to change my settings to adapt to there and then, because I could see the results almost immediately. Just fiddle with the shutter speed, the ISO a little bit, and then that's when it sort of clicked in my head as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to put up with things like some lagginess from like live view and all that kind of stuff, but it's all part and parcel of it, isn't it?
So when you approach a model, how do you first get in contact with her? Have the Facebook groups helped, or do you go to the model's website and send an email?
Yeah, I think the Facebook group helps to a point with regard to, seeing what their kind of remote portfolio is like. So if there's somebody new you've not shot before, it's nice to see what they can do and maybe where they are and what kind of kit they've got. I mean, you did ask, does it really matter what kit they've got? Not particularly. I mean, it's nice if they've got, I don't know, for example, a Nikon D850 or a Sony A7 III or something higher or whatever it may be, but it doesn't really sway my choice particularly.
Yeah, because a camera's a camera, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you approach our model, do you use mood boards, or do you just see what outfits or settings they have?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, I guess I initiate the communication, it can be all sorts of ways. It can be via Facebook chat or a WhatsApp chat or, all the various methods that we all use now. It can be any of those things. WhatsApp is quite good, I find, because you can just send pictures through to each other like a mood board and get a rough idea. Or I use Pinterest and, get my log on for Pinterest and we'll just share ideas amongst us. So, I don't think it's been a kind of consistent way of doing it. It's been all sorts of different ways that all seem to work.
So when, over the course of the shoots, what have you found has been the best amount of time? 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think 2 hours is probably about right. I've shot for longer quite happily, but 2 hours is about right. An hour would be too short, I think, generally speaking, especially if you're starting out. If you've not got to grips with how it all works, then you definitely need a bit of time to settle into it. But yeah, usually if I book a shoot myself, I'll do it for 2 hours.
Cool. And do you go for like several looks, or obviously you've discussed with the model beforehand, so that takes away some of the time that you're both on the same page when you're going to shoot the images? Yeah,
absolutely. It's nice to be prepared, isn't it? So, yeah, for example, if you're working with somebody like Zoe Morgan, she may well send you a huge library of images of all her outfits and stuff and ask you what you'd like to use on the day. And then it's a case of, as you're shooting, just try not to overshoot things so you've got more time. So if you think you've got the shot in a particular outfit, move on to the next one and just try and get as much out of it as you can.
Is there some favourite shots that you've done over the course of the Emotes? Because like when I was shooting with Zoe, obviously I saw the ones you did where you were shooting down over her, like on her couch. And I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, Zoe's got some amazing kit. So she's got some really nice lighting and she's got this absolutely huge tripod that goes really high. So again, she gave an option. She said, this tripod goes really high. Can we do something from above? And, it's perfect for that. She's got the right sort of room to do it in with all the props and outfits and stuff that went with it. So that was great. The lighting she had was new aperture lighting. So she spent a fortune on lighting. And I was getting shots out of that could have been any sort of fashion that I'd shoot. And I was really pleased with the results. And the quality was just like being there.
Yeah, because literally, I think that was some of the shots, like, especially the one she's like looking up and you could have easily like been up a ladder or something to take that shot. So yeah,
no, absolutely.
So as we get back into safely shooting in person, I think you've already said that models can offer remote shoots as an option now. Do you think that's going to be something they'll do, or it's just going to be around for a little bit longer and then stop?
No, I think 100% it will carry on. I'm sure there's people out there that always want to do it. I think I would, definitely. If there's a particular person in a particular country I'd like to shoot and it's practical to do it with regard to, the locations and various other stuff, I'd be more than happy to do that. It just means that the models need to keep on top of their kit and stuff so that, they can still offer these things. And that was going to bring me to another point, actually, about any advice maybe I give some models. And this is not one to teach them to suck eggs at all, because some of them are just brilliant at all this, but there might be a few points here that could make life a bit easier or just to be aware of. And this is more from a kind of a photographer's point of view. It's the sort of things that I think about as a photography geek. I mean, things like I've had shoots sent over, which is fine, but the date and time on the images has been completely out, like 2 years or something.
Okay.
So you put it into Lightroom, looking for your images, and you think, where was that shoot? And you actually find it was 2 years ago because the date and the time on the camera hasn't been set yet. So that's always a nice thing to do. I think it's really good for the models to get a bit of practice with the tripod to get the different angles quickly and easily. Because I don't know about you, but I've had a few where there's a little bit of struggling with trying to get the right angles and all that kind of stuff. And I think if you just got a bit of practice with the tripod, you should better manage that without too much trouble. I'd also say be really careful not to risk any of your kit, because if something's precariously balanced or might fall over or whatever, I mean, you could potentially be doing yourself out of your job. If I've had it myself. I've been on a shoot in person where I had a strap on the camera and I've stepped backwards and my heel of my boot has pulled the strap and pulled the camera out of my hand, and the camera's landed on the floor and pulled the lens and the mount off, and it's all have to go off, and £500 later you're going to go back in business. But I wouldn't advise it. So definitely just looking after your kit. I've seen lots of situations where changing lenses, it wouldn't be my best thing to do, to leave the camera on when you change the lens.
Okay.
And I'll point it down at the floor so you don't get dust on the sensor. Because if you're constantly exposing your sensor, it's going to get dusty, and then that's going to cause an issue for your clients, I think. So unless you want to start cleaning your sensors, it's probably a good idea to to do it that way. Batteries, obviously, it's really nice if you've got spare batteries, because the last thing, if you're on a roll, you don't want to run out of battery life at the last minute. So quite often I'll actually make the effort to turn off live view if, say, the model's going to have to get changed into an outfit or something, just to help save the battery life. Bluetooth speakers I find are quite good for the comms, because if you're talking over a mobile phone or their laptop or whatever, and they move to a different area of the set somewhere, sometimes they're hard to hear. So with a Bluetooth speaker, you can kind of move that anywhere and stay in touch, which is cool. I've even tried the Zoe, which was quite interesting. So you use like a Bluetooth headphone, so she can hide that under her hair on like a set outside, and you can still be talking to her, and she can hear you clearly no matter where she is, which is really good. And then from a sort of technical point of view, as Mr. IT person, if you create if you've got antivirus on your machine, if you create an antivirus exclusion for the raw file types, like a RAS file or whatever it may be, that just saves it being scanned every time you shoot one. So it just makes life a little bit quicker. And I worked with someone the other day that was actually doing something even more clever, and that was they were writing the RAWs to the card and the JPEGs to the computer. So there's very little lag to get the image to appear on the computer, which was really good. And they just obviously transferred the RAWs from the card at the end. I don't think everybody has that option, but it was nice to see and have that.
Yeah, because you just need the JPEGs to look at the previews, don't you? So
yeah, that's right. And then of course the lighting. I mean, obviously it's an investment, but continuous light is really nice when you're shooting remote, because you can see what's going on. The only trouble being that if you're in a darker room or something like that, sometimes the continuous light just isn't bright enough to get a lower ISO for whatever you're shooting. So then flash might be useful. Obviously it's not, you can't really see what you're doing as easily remotely. You are waiting for the previews to come up and stuff to set your flash up to some degree, but then you do get the best quality out of the camera.
So out of the emotes you've done, has there been any like bloopers and stuff that have happened that you can talk about?
Bloopers. We've had some really funny moments. I think I've ended up in fits of laughter with pretty much everyone. But I think Iris Fitzgerald was one of the funniest ones. She really did a water shoot, and she was pouring stuff all over herself and splashing as she did it, and we were just having such a laugh. It was really funny.
Because you worked with her a lot, haven't you?
I have, yeah, but then we'd shot before. So again, that was easy because it was just a continuation of what we were doing. And we're both creative and up for ideas and kind of all that kind of stuff. So it's been really good fun. I've really enjoyed working with her. Yeah,
so she was up for like pouring water over herself to get the shot.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Lucy had the same treatment.
I think literally we were talking about it because I just did an episode with her this morning, and she mentioned that she was happy for her partner to pour water over her to get the shots. So
yeah, he was happy for that as well. Yeah. But I mean, the results of that, I think that's another thing to sort of say to photographers: don't skimp on the things like you'd normally do. If you want to get a bit of dynamism in your images, whether that be from wind or from light or shadows or water or movement or anything like that, still try and go for it, because it's still doable. It's just a little bit more hard work. Say, for example, if you're doing a water shoot and they're throwing something at somebody who might catch that splash, you can't really see remotely. If you put it on a high-speed shutter or whatever, and you're, effectively got your finger on the button so it keeps shooting, you can't see the previews of what you're doing. It's a case of going back afterwards and just hoping you've caught the shot, but at least you've managed to do it.
Do you find the slower pace is easy to adjust to as well? Because obviously in person you can move around, take shots quickly. Have you found the pace easy to adjust to, or has it just been something, okay, it's remote shooting, it's just one of those things you have to deal with?
It's very slightly frustrating, but just one of those things you have to do. So yeah, I think you do adapt to it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't choose it given the choice of having it just happen immediately, but you just get used to it.
Would you suggest, if some models are just starting out, to maybe do some test shoots with like either friends or photographers they know, so there's not that pressure of producing results? So
and I think it helps give them more confidence too, because I have some amazing models that still have a little bit of a confidence issue until they've managed to get things as they want it, and some of them got really high standards as well. So I think once they're happy that they can get what fits into their kind of standards, they're more than happy to offer it out to other people. So yeah, I think a test shoot, I'm sure you've done them too, is a really good idea. I've also found that I've got some photographer friends that just shoot in person, and we've been on holidays together and all that kind of stuff, and they're just amazing friends of mine, but none of them so far I've even considered doing remotes. Now they've probably got their reasons for it, and I respect that, but from my point of view, to actually stay creative throughout this COVID period, and from the results that I personally think the results I've got have been good, and I'm really, really pleased with it. I can't see why anybody wouldn't give it a try. It baffles me a bit.
I admit at the beginning I was one of those people. I did a FaceTime shoot and we got, like you say, okay results. And the model was great because the only setup she had was the phone. So I'd worked with her in person a couple of times before and we both liked the results. But I think it was Chris Conway's when he did a couple of things with Amy, one of their workshops or stuff, that I did a couple of hours and then got the images back and went, hold on, there's something here, and you can still be creative, but you're not in the same room as a model or a studio. And then I thought, well, yeah, let's try this. And literally through the summer of last year, I was going all over the place. I've been like to Russia, to New Zealand, to America virtually. So I thought, oh, okay, there's something in this. And like I say, I think coming out of this, it's probably made me slow down to appreciate what's in the frame more. So hopefully that will come across in my normal photography. And I've got to work with some people that hopefully in the future I'll be able to work with in person as well.
Yeah, and I think the interaction with the model is the same as in person.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the extra direction of angles and stuff if you want to do that, and you've got the normal direction of, you know, their poses and stuff if you want to, you know, most of these models we're talking about are really professional and know their stuff. But if you just want to tweak things like, you know, where they're looking at the time, or, you know, just move, you know, their chin or whatever slightly to the left or right, I mean, that's exactly the same as before. And you can have a good time as well. I mean, you do find yourself chatting in between the shots and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's no different to being there from that point of view. I think you need to make a little bit of an allowance for the fact that the model's doing everything. Not only is she, before the shoot, getting everything prepared and considered, but then on the shoot day, she's obviously, you know, working hard to pose really well for you. And she's looking after the camera angles and the file transfers and the admin side of it and all that kind of thing. So it's a lot more work for them. So yeah, it's just to be mindful that that's a lot more involved than maybe it used to be. Okay, yeah, so I'd also like to shout out to some of the assistants that have been helping the models do their stuff. So in particular, Mark, which is Zoe Morgan's other half. I think it's Tristan, that's Lucy's other half. And Zoe herself has obviously helped out when she's had visiting models. So that really helps the models not have to worry too much about, you know, moving the kit around and all that kind of thing. And they've got a good knowledge of what the kit's all about. So it just makes it even easier. So thanks to them. Thanks
for doing the podcast, Martin. Do you want to promote your website and socials so people can go and find you?
Yeah, thanks. So Facebook is just Martin Higgs. You should find me under there. Instagram is @mhiggs2000. And the website is martinhiggs.co.uk.
And obviously models can approach you if they need any help as well.
Absolutely, more than happy to help people start out. I think it's been really good to have the models, you know, earning a good income through doing stuff remotely when they wouldn't have had any work in person. So it's been a pleasure to help people out, and also to work with some people I've never worked with before and make some friends along the way.
Oh, someone's done notes. Oh, that's the first person that has done that.
I have to, I'll just forget it, especially with the model names and stuff. Bloody awful.
Yeah. Thanks for doing the podcast, Martin. Is there any... oh, God, is there any? Of course there is. Jesus. All right. Thanks for doing the podcast, Martin. Oh, Jesus, really? Come on. All right. Stop thinking about it. Stop overthinking about it.